Claude or ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, Perplexity, Codex, DeepSeek. Which ones actually replace Claude when it starts frustrating you? I ranked all 7 against Claude across 6 real dimensions, kept a live scoreboard, and matched each one to a specific user type. And the part that got me is that Claude still leads on coding benchmarks, but the alternatives are winning almost everywhere else. Claude is the tool people are leaving, and the real question is where they should land. So let's get into Alternative 1 right now. Alternative 1, ChatGPT, the all-rounder. You're paying $20 a month for Claude Pro, you hit a rate limit mid-session, and the work just stops. So ChatGPT is the most direct replacement people reach for, and the question is whether GPT 5.1 actually covers the same ground, specifically on context, window size, response speed, and real-world coding performance. I pulled the benchmark cards, and here's what came back. Claude Opus 4.5 beats GPT 5.1 on SWE Bench Verified, 80.9% versus 74.2%. So Claude still holds the coding edge, but GPT 5.1 comes back with a 256K context window versus Claude's 200K, and a 1.8 second time to first token versus Claude's 3.2 seconds, which for interactive use is a real felt difference. ChatGPT takes this one as the best general replacement, faster responses, bigger context, and no 5-hour session caps, even if Claude still edges it on coding, and if you need a quick answer on whether to leave Claude, ChatGPT is the default pick, which puts the score at Claude 0, Alternatives 1. I've burned through enough Claude rate limits on real projects to know exactly where each of these tools breaks down, so drop a comment if the session cap has killed your workflow too. Alternative 2, Gemini, the context king. 1 million tokens, that's the number, and Claude's 200K context is genuinely good, but the moment you're dropping in a 400-page legal document, or a massive codebase, you're chunking and losing coherence. So Gemini 3 Pro's 1M token window, being 5 times Claude's limit, matters a lot, and the API pricing comes in at roughly half the cost per token. The API pricing surprised me. Gemini 3.1 Pro comes in at $7 input and $21 output per million tokens, versus Claude Opus 4.6 at $15 input and $75 output. And Claude still beats Gemini 3 Pro on SWE Bench by 9.1 points, 80.9% to 71.8%. So if coding quality is your thing, Claude wins that fight. Gemini takes this test on context and cost, and it's not close on the context window. 1M versus 200K is a different category of tool, which moves the score to Claude 0, Alternatives 2. And if long documents or API cost are your pain point, Gemini is the answer you came here for. Alternative 3, Grok, the speed demon, at $5 input and $25 output per million tokens for Claude Opus 5. A heavy coding month gets expensive fast, and Grok 4.5 is $2 input and $6 output, outputting tokens at roughly 91 to 119 per second versus Claude's 55. So the question is whether that speed and cost gap survives a real coding quality check. One of the biggest problems I run into when using AI agents is turning their output into YouTube content I can actually use to market my product. That's why this video is sponsored by Subscriber, a tool that helps business owners connect their AI agents to YouTube and market their products without spending 10 hours every week creating content. You can connect Claude or ChatGPT directly to Subscriber. It then analyzes your business, website, and YouTube channel to help you create SEO-optimized video ideas, scripts, thumbnails, and even complete videos that actually match your brand. What I like most is that every week, Subscriber gives me a list of high-potential video ideas I can immediately execute, and it can even help edit videos for me, with or without my face, including videos like the one you're watching right now. It's easy to get started, and you can try Subscriber for free using the link in the description below. Now back to the video. Watch what happens on the coding side. Claude Opus 5 scores 96% on SWE Bench Verified. Grok 4.5 scores 86.6%. So there's a real 9-point gap in coding quality, but Grok is nearly twice as fast on throughput and 4 times cheaper on output tokens. And the only real catch is that Grok 4.5 is locked to xAI's API, so multi-cloud deployment is off the table. Grok wins on speed and cost, and if high-volume API work is your thing, Grok 4.5 is the call as long as you can live with xAI-only deployment, which moves the score to Claude 0, Alternatives 3. Alternative 4, Perplexity, the researcher. You ask Claude about something that happened last month, and it either hallucinates or tells you its knowledge has a cutoff, and that's the specific failure Perplexity was built to fix, because it's a source-cited search engine rather than a general assistant, and both tools cost about the same, roughly $17 to $20 a month. I ran this comparison twice because it's genuinely apples and oranges. Claude dominates coding and long document analysis. Perplexity doesn't even try to compete there. But for real-time, source-cited research, Perplexity is in a different category entirely, and Claude's static knowledge just can't match answers that come with live citations attached. Perplexity takes this test because real-time, source-cited search is a job Claude literally cannot do, and if you're trying to figure out whether it fits your workflow, ask yourself if you do research more than you write code, because the score now sits at Claude 0, alternatives 4. So the alternatives have been winning on general use, context, speed, and research. But the two tests still ahead are the ones that could actually change your mind if you're a developer, because agentic coding quality and raw cost efficiency are where Claude has historically held the line, and I'm genuinely not sure it holds here. Alternative 5, Codex, the agentic coder. Codex 5.3 Ultra costs roughly half of Claude Sonnet in production, and it's the tool developers are actually switching to when the Claude code bill gets uncomfortable. So the comparison here is SWE Bench verified performance and token efficiency, which together decide your real monthly cost on a serious coding workload. Here's what actually happened. Claude Opus 4.5 leads Codex 5.3 Ultra on SWE Bench verified by 2.5 points, and Codex edges Claude on human evil 98.1% to 97.3%. But the more consequential finding is that Codex is significantly more token efficient in production, cutting costs roughly in half on the same workload. The 2.5-point SWE bench gap is real, but narrow. These two are converging fast as agentic coding tools. And the decisive difference is what happens to your bill at scale, because Claude holds the quality edge, but Codex cuts your production cost roughly in half. And for most developers, that math matters more than 2.5 points on a leaderboard. Claude takes this test on SWE bench quality, a 2.5-point edge over Codex 5.3 Ultra. And that's the first win for Claude on the board. So the score is now Claude 1, alternatives 4. And if agentic coding quality is the thing you can't compromise on, Claude still holds that crown. Alternative 6, DeepSeek, the budget hack. The objection I hear a lot is that cheap models can't actually compete with frontier quality, and DeepSeek v4 is the answer to that. It's a competitive frontier model at a fraction of Anthropic's per token cost, and it can even run inside Claude code via an Anthropic-compatible API endpoint, which is a pretty wild thing to be able to do. I looked at the integration setup, and the cost side is genuinely striking. DeepSeek v4 delivers competitive frontier-level performance at a fraction of what Anthropic charges per token, and the caveat worth knowing is that the Claude code plus DeepSeek v4 setup is documented but not officially supported by Anthropic or DeepSeek, so you're on your own if something breaks in production. DeepSeek takes this test on cost, and if you need a quick gut check on whether it fits, ask yourself if you can live without official support, because the final score is Claude 1, alternatives 5, and that's your ranked list of 7 Claude alternatives right there. So why are people leaving Claude? The Pro plan hits 5-hour session limits and weekly caps that make it nearly useless for heavy work. The watermarking policy blocks commercial use of AI-generated content, which is a real problem for writers. And users are reporting that Opus 5 quality drops week to week, plus Claude lectures you on legitimate questions more than any other tool in this list. Now, where Claude genuinely still wins, Claude Opus 4.5 leads SWE Bench verified with a score that beats GPT 5.1 at 74.2% and Gemini 3 Pro at 71.8%. Claude Code's agentic workflow with a 200K context window is proven and reliable for serious coding projects, and Claude's writing style and long document analysis are still best in class for a lot of users, which is worth saying plainly. If you're leaving Claude for general use, ChatGPT is the pick. It's the most direct drop-in with a bigger context window and no session caps. And if cost or speed is your pain point, Grok 4.5 is 4 times cheaper on output tokens. So Claude only makes sense if you're a developer who needs the top coding benchmark score and can live with the rate limits. One thing that didn't make it into the benchmarks, Claude Pro sounds like full access at that monthly price. But community reports put the Max 5X plan at $100 a month before you get 225 messages per 5-hour window, and the base plan's caps are tight enough that power users call it almost useless, which isn't in the marketing copy anywhere. If you're a developer specifically and you want to go deeper on the coding side, I ranked the 7 best Claude Code alternatives in a separate video, and a couple of the picks there will genuinely surprise you, especially if you've been assuming Claude Code is the only serious agentic option. So that video is called 7 Claude Code alternatives worth switching to, and it's right there for you.